Hi everybody, how are you? Great. Good. My name is Joe Bates. I am the operating partner of this facility, and we're so proud of it. We've been here since October of 2012, so we're still kind of getting to know the community, although I've been part of the Stonewood family for the last 14 years up in Ormond Beach, and love what I'm doing, love the community. Very involved up there, but still kind of new to the area, really, in Daytona Beach. Also new to HBA, so I'm looking forward to being a big part of that and helping it grow and succeed. Welcome to our property, Sunset Harbor and SW Grill downstairs. And we're happy to be able to show it off a little bit to you today. And thank you very much, Carly, for dressing it up the way it is. It looks fantastic. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce somebody that is near and dear to my heart, and somebody who I'm proud to say has been a friend and mentor for the last 14 years, Mr. Gale Lemerand.
Thank you, guys. You hear me okay? Yes. Well, I hate to follow these guys. They sound like professional speakers. I'm sure not one of them. I am a businessman and I am an entrepreneur, and I wasn't sure, when Joe asked me to speak, I wasn't sure what he wanted me to talk about, and I'm still not, but I made a couple of notes, and I thought I'd tell you my story, and just kind of go through my career quite fast, and then open the floor to some questions. Hope I have some answers for you all. Anyway, I'm going to start by saying that I'm one of the people that have lived the American dream, and I say only in America can this happen. I was born on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, 1934. Would you believe 1934? So I was 79 a week ago. And I was raised in Escanaba, Michigan, which is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I think they're still in Depression up there, but I was, born during the Depression to a very great family, but we were lower middle class. In fact, we were pretty low. My dad, as an example, built our house by collecting railroad ties along the railroad and building the house, a two-bedroom house, or two-room house, rather. We didn't have any inside facilities at all. No running water, no toilet, nothing. We had an outhouse in the backyard, and the average temperature in the winter was like 25 below. So it's pretty tough to go into those outhouses at 25 below. Anyway, to take a bath, you'd bring water from the outside pump, put it on a coal-burning stove, and put it in a bathtub. Like I say, there was no plumbing. So I made a note about what was going on in those days, and it's pretty tough to think about this, but unemployment rate was 21.7%. The Dow Jones was 110. The average new automobile was $600. The average annual income was $600. Can you believe that? So in May 1995, I'm going to tell you about my business a little later on, my original business, but I sold Gale Industries to Masco Corporation, which is a $14 billion Fortune 200 company. I sold it for $150 million. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I want you to know that it's been quite a deal. It took me 20 years to get there, to get to the start. I started my first business when I was 40 years old, 40. And so, unlike today where there are our student loans and different opportunities for young people, we didn't have any money, couldn't afford to go to school, very few people went to college, and if I've missed anything in my life, it's not having a formal education. So because of that, I've devoted a lot of time and some dollars to higher education with the idea that I want to give young people an opportunity to learn and to be educated formally like I was never able to. All of this was accomplished by number one, by surrounding myself with some great, great people. A few years ago, I collaborated on a book. It's called Bet on the Jockey. To win in business, bet on the jockey. I had some friends that thought I had an interesting career, so I decided to do this book for family. I'm selling it. I'm not trying to sell it in any way, but it's an interesting story about my career. I reviewed it just briefly yesterday, and when I sold my business in 1995, I thought, why am I selling? And I said in the book, I'm selling because I'm going to be 65 pretty soon, and I want to semi-retire. Would you believe that? I want to give some money to charity, and I want to smell the roses. Well, I've accomplished most of that except for the retirement part. But anyway, I feel that people are the most important part of any business. During my career, I had branches all over the United States, and I would put a mediocre manager in a great market and be very unsuccessful. And I would then put a great manager in a mediocre market and be very successful. So that proved to me that it was really the people, not the idea. Anyway, I graduated from high school in 1952. During school, I had just a lot of different jobs to make a few dollars. One of the things I learned in high school, I learned how to type, thank heaven, and I took a bookkeeping course. After high school, I went into Merchant Marine for about 6 months on the Great Lakes, and had a draft deferment, but I decided I didn't want anything. After 6 months, I decided to join the Air Force. So I joined the Air Force for 4 years active, 4 years inactive, and spent the next year living in a tent in Korea. So that's what happened there. When I got out of the, when I was over in Korea, because of my bookkeeping and accounting from high school, they qualified me to be chief clerk of an orderly room in the Air Police Squadron, and it was my first organizational experience. When I came back stateside, I got into the wing headquarters, the base headquarters, as a clerk, again, in the organizational administrative department. It's my first experience with organization. When I graduated, when I was discharged from the service, I got a job with Otis Elevator Company in St. Louis for $250 a month. And went to school at night on GI Bill, community college, where I went for a year and a half at night, mainly for the $90 a month. Never did graduate, but did go to the school and worked at the same time. So I worked at Otis Elevator in cost accounting, and then for Alcoa in cost accounting. From there, I decided to go back to Michigan, and I sold Fuller brushes door to door. Anybody know what Fuller brushes are? They don't have them anymore, but I sold Fuller brushes for about a year and a half door to door. It was a great experience. I tried selling insurance, and I found I couldn't sell an intangible, so that didn't work very well. Then I got a job down in St. Louis in a wholesale building material business, and learned wholesale building material. Followed by working 7 years as a sales rep for a manufacturer of building material called Certainty Products. It sold insulation and roofing, so on and so forth. At that time, one of my customers was an insulation contractor, and I worked for him for about 4 years, and then eventually became a partner and bought him out, and that started my career. So my main business during this career was an insulation contracting. I'd buy the product and install it in homes and apartments and commercial buildings. Did not manufacture it, I just installed it. 20 years later, we became the largest insulation contracting company in the country, probably in the world. And that's why Masco is very interested in us. Anyway, I sold that business, I say, in 1995, and I had a 5-year earnout. And a very interesting story there. They wanted me to work for them for 5 years. And so it's typical, they offer you, a company like that offers you an earnout. And they did, they offered me a $25 million earnout if I hit certain goals. And so after I signed all the papers, the president of Masco called me into a room by myself, and he said, hey, he gave me $500,000 worth of Masco stock. I said, well, I must have left something on the table for him to be giving me this, but he just said, welcome to the family. And he said, you want to have some insurance that you're going to earn this workout, this earnout? I said, yeah. He said, offer your key employees part of that. So I did. I took his advice, and it was a 5-year earnout, but I offered 20% to about 10 of our top people, including a couple secretaries, by the way, and we made it in 3 years. So that was one of the incentives that we did. What I always did is try to train people and promote from within. It was much better for us to train and promote from within than to go outside, and we did that on a regular basis. One of the important things I think about any business is to have a business plan, of course, and a budget. To go by a budget, have good financial, good CPA working for you, and have a monthly financial statement. And so many people go right to the bottom line and see whether they made a profit or a loss, and I went through every item and compared it to the budget. So, in fact, I came up with daily budgets based on the monthly budget, and I think it's paramount to the success of any company. I was a typical entrepreneur, risk taker. I still am a risk taker. I think most successful entrepreneurs are risk takers, and I'm not afraid of failure. I've failed many times over the years, and usually found an opportunity where there was a failure, and I think that's really important. Instead of retiring after I sold to Masco, I thought, gee, what's more risky than dealing with home builders and accounts receivable with home builders? Well, that's really tough. I said, what's really risky is the restaurant business. I think I should try that. And so through a friend, I decided to get into restaurant business, and we came up with Stonewood. I'm chairman of Stonewood today. I think we have 17 Stonewood Joe, and 1 SW, and Stonewood also owns Peach Valley. We have 5 Peach Valley breakfast lunch places. And those are the companies that Stonewood has. I'm involved with 30-some restaurants right now. I own half of Hooligans. You guys know Hooligans? So we have 4 locations. I am a partner with The Dish and the Wine Company in Norman, and a couple Perkins restaurants on the west coast of Florida. I'm also involved in other things. I'm involved with medical products. We have a Command Medical. We have a plant in Norman. We have a plant in Nicaragua. Involved with lumber yards, trust plants, and real estate, all kinds of things. It's been a real pleasure being around Stonewood and watching it grow, and watching people like Joe come up. And we've always tried to promote from within. We grew so fast sometimes we had to go outside, but we prefer to hire and train and bring our people up and give them an opportunity. Each of our partners in Stonewood and Peach Valley is an operating partner, and they get a nice percentage of the profits on top of their salaries. I've always operated that way, and I think it's the way to go to give good incentives to your people. And wouldn't you know, I've decided now, just about 2 months ago, instead of retiring at 79, I've decided to take on a new franchise, and it's called Pie5, you should Google it, Pie5, P-I-E-F-I-V-E. I am the Central Florida franchisee for Pie5, and what it is, it's a great new concept. I'm one of the very first franchisees from this old company called Pizza Inn, and it's going to be I think it's going to be the Subway of the pizza business. You go in and you build your own pizza, like you do with a Subway. 4 different kinds of crusts, 4 different kinds of sauces, and for $6.78 you can load it up with as much meat and vegetables as you want. And you have it from the time you order until the time you get to the line. Into the line, it's 5 minutes or less. 1.5 minutes to cook the pizza, and just a fantastic concept. But I'm really proud of Stonewood, and proud of Peach Valley. Thankfully, we enjoy a great reputation and a lot of repeat business. And I don't know, I don't think I'm forgetting anything here other than that's the story. I don't know if there's any questions you guys have that I can possibly try to answer. Where?
You have a couple of patents that you
Yeah.
have something to do with
I told you I didn't want to talk about failures. No, I invented the Sanador, which is a touch-free exit system for public restrooms. I happen to be more or less of a germaphobe, and all you do is you wave to exit. At first it was just for swinging for multi-user restrooms, but now I have one that is for lockable restrooms, like in a doctor's waiting room and that type of thing. The bad news is that I had it designed and manufactured in China, so I could sell it at a lower price. And guess what? I had some failures. So I just pulled it off the market recently, and I'm re-entering the market within the next few months with a company from Melbourne, Florida. So I believe in doing business in America, but there was such a difference in the price. It was my first experience with manufacturing, and I just think it's going to be a huge winner. I don't know, you guys don't know this, but 55% of guys and 45% of women do not wash their hands when they exit a public restroom. Ain't good.
That's why you never get the miss.
That's why you see the paper towels on the floor and so on and so forth for the people that do. Okay, any other questions?
Your involvement with Daytona College and
Daytona State? Yeah, like I said, I don't have any formal education. I have a year and a half at night schools. They called it junior college at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've served 8 years on the board at Daytona State, and a year or 2 at Bethune, and a year or so at Embry-Riddle. So I've served on all those boards, and I do have a honorary doctorate from Bethune and from Florida and from Daytona State. So.
Do you think not having a degree or finishing has hindered you?
Yeah, I think it cost me 10 years at least. I mean, I think I would have been successful earlier. What I had to do, you see, is, and that's why I went through the different things that I did. I sold aluminum siding door to door. I sold building. I'm forgetting some of these things, but I just sold a lot of different things as I went along and learned from that experience. And so it took me 20 years from when I was 20 until I was 40 before I really knew enough to start my own business. And
Do you think you would ever retire, and if so, why?
no, I'm not going to retire because
Real.
oh, I didn't tell you how I started an installation business. One of my contractors wanted to, he was a national contractor, and he wanted to, it was 1974, and it was a recession, and he wanted to stop doing business east of Mississippi. I was in the Chicago suburbs, and so I had about $10,000 worth of stock coming from that little local business that I worked for. And so I bought 60% interest in that little company. It was at a farmer's barn in the Chicago suburbs. And our first year we did 400,000, and then the last year we did 1.5 billion. And it's quite a bit at $1,100, $1,200 a house, you know. And so the secret to what I did there really was what I call, it's probably not very good English, but I call it diversified national geographical diversification. So I noticed that during the recession, some parts of the country were doing much better than other parts. And there was a recession every 5-6 years in those days. And so I thought, well, you know, what I'm going to do is diversify geographically. And so I had, as soon as I could afford it, I had shops in Chicago and shop in Las Vegas and shop in Utah and California and all that. And ended up in 27 states. One of the things I do want to mention, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, I didn't have a very good home life. I was gone all the time, 80 hours a week, just gone all the time. Because my day and age, you know, the guy was supposed to make a living for the family and let the wife take care of the family. Well, it didn't work. And I think you need to live a balanced life. I think the days of the 80-hour work week are gone. I think, you know, 50 tops now. But you need to spend time with the family. I didn't. I still have a good relationship. I have 3 children. I have a good relationship with them because I took care of them as far as they're growing up, as far as financially, but I didn't spend any time with them until the last 10 years, so 15 years. But I'd say to put that really high up in your wish list when you're building a business is spend enough time with the family. Anybody else? Yep.
You mentioned the geographic and you mentioned the spreadsheets. What do you think your characteristic of you or your asset made you so successful?
I was a good salesman. You know, I didn't have an education, so I had to be able to do something. So I sold a lot of Fuller brushes. I sold a lot of Electrolux vacuum cleaners door to door. And I sold insulation and aluminum siding and roofing and all kinds of things, and so that was that. I sold, and the other part was I really treated all my employees very fairly. Several of my people with Gale Industries became millionaires because they earned it, and they got that, and I just shared with them and treated them very fairly. And like I say, bet on the jockey, and they're gonna, you know, those people are going to take care of you if you take care of them.
So being a salesperson was your base. What do you think was the most important thing you learned?
The most important thing I learned
to launch the rest
was organization.